Still enjoying Kevin's DCLT, which I showed in my last video, that fantastic package which I got from him last week. A few things that I picked up, a lot of them I picked up in the run up to that, and a few things since, because I was at a record fair over the weekend. But okay, so today's Wednesday. I'll probably throw this up probably Friday or Saturday. I'll start off with something I picked up a few weeks ago. I was doing a bit of browsing and came across this. Now this is by Jon Hassell. Jon Hassell. Anybody who's an Eno fan, sorry, Eno fan will be familiar with Jon Hassell. He's collaborated with Eno a few times, most notably. This is his debut solo album, Earthquake Island, which came out in 1978. This is a reissue from 1989. So it's a German reissue from 1989. Jon Hassell, American trumpeter and how would you categorize this album? It's a kind of experimental take on various kind of, I suppose, well, I hate using that expression, but world music. There's kind of an ECM vibe mixed in with a kind of, well, maybe slightly more experimental kind of thing going, kind of Latin thing. Some interesting collaborators here. This came out on, I'll just show you the label. It's a label called Tomato Records. So this came out in '78. 2 years later, he collaborated with Brian Eno. They did what was it called again? Possible Worlds. Was it Possible Worlds? Possible. I can't quite think of the title, the full title just now. But anyway, it's a very interesting album. I got it for a pretty nice price. I picked it up for €8. Even though this is not a first pressing, it generally goes for a good bit more than that. Yeah, so as I said, it has a kind of an ECM vibe, but perhaps more kind of experimental, maybe slightly kind of ambient, kind of an interesting mixture of styles. Yeah, so I came across it and kind of randomly in a local record shop, and yeah, so I was familiar with him primarily through his work with Eno, so quite pleased to pick that up. Moving on, went to a record fair on Sunday, and a seller who I picked up a lot of things from the past. I didn't have much money on me, but I did manage to pick up a couple of nice things, because he gave me first heads up on a few items that he had. So I grabbed two Zappa want list items. First off, Frank Zappa Apostrophe, 1973 on Discreet Records, UK original. This was one of the first Zappa albums which I listened to in full, I think, years back. I rented this out of a CD out of the local music library. Probably, I think I got a Overnight Sensation at the same time. So it was really those two that kind of, well, I was aware of Zappa beforehand, of course, but it was those two albums were probably the first that I listened to in full. And of course the two of them are recorded as part of the same session. Don't You Eat That Yellow Snow, that's the Yellow Snow, that's the Don't Eat the Yellow Snow, that's the track that opens it. It's kind of pretty weird kind of comic dialogue. Stinkfoot, it's another, it's that kind of weird, bizarre, I think with Zappa, that some of his humor works and some of it has dated badly. I quite like, his kind of spoken word digressions on this one. Yeah, it's one that I've been looking for to get on vinyl for quite a while. The other Zappa, which is actually Zappa and Captain Beefheart, and that is Bongo Fury from '75. It's an original US pressing. So Zappa and Beefheart. I was reading a biography of Zappa last year. The two of them really did not get along by the point they collaborated on this album. There's quite a bit of tension between them, and I think that kind of comes across on the cover. They don't really look like they're kind of best of friends there, do they? But yeah, this is a great album. This is one I've been looking for a long time. Two musical geniuses, having kind of a moustache off on the cover, and sorry, I forgot to say that the Mothers of this is Zappa and the Mothers of Invention, plus Beefheart. Apostrophe is Zappa solo, but this is Zappa and the Mothers, with Beefheart in tow. It's actually a live album, live in concert in Austin, Texas, 1975. So I think that Muffin Man, and some great vocal work on this by Beefheart. So so I got the two of those. The two of these for €20, and the seller threw in pretty more or less for free this album. This is very common, of course. Jean-Michel Jarre, Oxygen, kind of ubiquitous, but a must-have album if you are into electronic music. I have been on the lookout for a vinyl copy. It's one that I've come across a few times in charity and thrift shops, but it always seems to be thrashed. I've always come across copies that are completely wrecked, in bad condition, but this one is absolutely perfect. Perfect copy. I mean, you're all familiar with Oxygen. I don't need to go into it. But yeah, I got it more or less for free with the with those other two. Now the next item, which I also got from that seller, this is a straight swap. I did a trade for this one. This is one I knew he had it for a while because he has a Discogs page. It's one that I had to listen to it online. And this is Industrial Future is the name of this album, and it's by an artist. It goes under the name Claude Larson. He's German. Now that's not his actual name. He also records under his real name, which I don't know, is it here actually? I just can't think of his real name just now, but Claude Larson is one of the names that he records under. But yeah, this is actually, this came out in 1981, and it's basically library music, but it's played entirely on a computer. It's kind of, I suppose, best could be described as kind of almost Berlin school, maybe a slightly kind of more synth pop kind of take on the kind of Berlin school stuff. By the way, the artwork, I knew that artwork looked kind of familiar, but it wasn't until somebody mentioned it when I showed it on Facebook that somebody pointed out that it's the same artist who did the cover for Genesis, that Genesis album Duke from 1980. It's that same kind of guy with a massive body and a tiny head. Yeah, very interesting. It's not quite industrial. I wouldn't quite call it. It's not as bleak as the title kind of suggests. It's kind of more poppier. Well, poppy in places. Quite quite kind of upbeat. The digital sound of Claude Larson, and it's actually, what label is it on? It's on a label called Sonoton, a German label. So yeah, so I got that for a straight trade. So pleased with that. Just 2 seconds. Now the next item is also something that I got as a result of a trade. This is something that a local record shop had this for a while. They were looking for quite a bit for it, and I had my eye on it for quite a while. But eventually I did a straight trade with them as well, and I think I got a pretty good deal because this is by Kevin Ayers, and this is a Banamour from 1973. Kevin Ayers, who former member of Soft Machine. I think this is his third or fourth album. I'm not either third or fourth. Great, yeah. There's guest appearances here from Robert Wyatt and Steve Hillage, and we'll be hearing from Steve Hillage in a minute. But Harvest. Yes, great songs on this. Decadence, which is a song about Nico. Nico, kind of whom he had was romantically involved with. It's kind of a, well, I wouldn't say it's kind of taking a piss out of her, but it is kind of slightly having a go with her a bit, and it's a great song, and yeah, love this album. Kevin Ayers, Banamour. They were looking for quite a bit for it, but I did a pretty good trade for it, I think, because the stuff I traded it for didn't really cost me that much when I originally bought them. Okay, now getting on to Steve Hillage. This is something, I sold something online. I sold another record on Discogs, and with some of the money I bought one long time want list item, Fish Rising, Steve Hillage. Steve Hillage, formerly of Gong, or well, no, actually he wasn't, not formally, but he was in Gong at the time. He was still in Gong, but yeah. But this is his first solo album. Fish Rising originally came out in '75. This is a reissue from the late '70s, so it's got that different Virgin label. Yeah, so a lot of you, this is kind of a favorite. A lot of people on the VC have this. This is a kind of a VC favorite. There's Bobby Gass doing a bit of fishing there, landing a big one, nice bit of salmon. So yeah, this is an amazing, fantastic album. Just to get to kind of Canterbury sound, kind of meets proto ambient. Amazing guitar work. I'm sure a lot of you already have this one, but it's one that I've been missing, so have added it to the collection. Finally, after being on my want list for quite a long time. Now the next one up is another one I got on Discogs. Now I'm trying not to do too many Discogs purchases or eBay purchases these days, because you end up with a big Visa bill at the end of the day, or at the end of the month, and this is something that was on my want list, because it's a difficult one to find on this side of the Atlantic, and one came up from a seller in Spain, so I jumped on it. Now this is probably mightn't all be familiar with this guy. So the world of Harry Partch. Now Harry Partch, I think I first heard of him in that magazine, The Wire. He was an American composer. Now I forget when he was born. Now born in the 1900s, I think. Went to university to study music. He dropped out. Because basically turned his back on the Western classical tradition and just kind of did his own thing. And he then became a kind of a tramp or a hobo, and travelled around America, did kind of odd jobs. He became a merchant seaman, and anyway, he began building his own instruments and composing. And this is all through the 30s and 40s now, and this was recorded in 1969. These are so basically. I'll just show you these are some of the instruments. These were all built by Harry Partch himself, and kind of Eastern influenced in a way. And there's a kind of you can kind of detect a bit of an Southeast Asian influence. Some CBS classics, or Columbia. Is it Columbia? Or yeah. So now, side one is a piece called Daphne of the Dunes, which is entirely instrumental. Side two, Ayers.Stove, which has vocals on it. Now the vocals are kind of it's kind of spoken word pieces which are influenced by the stories of hobos whom he met during the Depression years in the 1930s. Now, listening to it, I was could hear kind of it kind of reminded me a bit of Tom Waits' Swordfish trombones, some of the more kind of out there elements of of Tom Waits, which I hadn't really made a connection with before. But it turns out that Tom Waits was heavily influenced by Harry Partch when he was recording Swordfish trombones, and you can kind of hear elements of that. Those kind of ding ding kind of instruments or kind of sounds that Tom Waits utilizes in Swordfish trombones. You can kind of hear that a bit on this this album. He died in 1974. He was kind of just being kind of discovered really at the point when that album was recorded. He'd been kind of in the wilderness. He was kind of an outsider figure. But there we go. Now a few €1 fines. This is something I found in a charity shop for just €1. Traffic, the best of Traffic. Compilation album. Originally came out in '69 on Island. This is a reissue from the '80s. Absolutely lovely, clean copy. Yeah, so includes a hole in my shoe is on this. So yeah, so some great stuff and an absolutely perfect condition, just for €1. So that was very nice to pick that up. Another €1 find which I made, band I'd never heard of before, called Sirocco. Sirocco, they're an Australian group. How to describe this again? Again, a bit like John Hassell, kind of that world music kind of thing. There's an influence of music from all kind of around the globe here. There's an Irish and Scottish influence, music, European folk music, Asian music from Southeast Asia, plus Aboriginal, Australian music. This was recorded in 1989, and it's called Port of Call. It's on a small Australian independent label called Jarre Records, and yeah, so this is well worth €1 because it's not a particularly common album, I think. Looking it up, yeah, so I really liked it. Again, I think it kind of like maybe a little bit like Windham Hill, perhaps, that sort of thing. Bit of a vibe. Something I found in the charity shop. Reactivate 7. This is a trance compilation, progressive trance, early 90s from 1993. This was a double compilation, but unfortunately it is only one of the discs. Only one disc. The disc that's missing, there was a track on it by Polygon Window, aka Aphex Twin, but I mean the disc, it's still pretty good. What the one disc that's remaining, so yeah, it was well worth grabbing for €1. I finished up 2 CDs. Now I got these second hand in a local record shop. Okay, Einsturzende Neubauten. This is a German industrial group. I never managed to pick up anything by them. Do see their vinyl around. They're always very, very expensive. So grab this CD for €6. This is actually a maxi single. It's called Interim. This came out in 1993. It's actually a promo, which is interesting. didn't know it was a promo actually when I grabbed it, but so Einsturzende Neubauten, which stands for the sound of collapsing buildings. Blixa Bargal, yeah, he was also a founding member of the Cave and the Bad Seeds, but this is kind of mid-period from 1993, so quite glad to pick that up because I didn't previously have anything by them. And also another big want list item. This is Scott Walker, The Drift. This is one of his later period experimental albums. This came out in 2006. It's one I'd been missing. So I picked up this second-hand CD for €6 along with the other one. Yeah, this is a really dark, very dark and quite disturbing album. Definitely his darkest, I think. There's one track on here, Jolson and Jones, which has this really weird set of lyrics that goes about him punching a donkey down the streets of Galway, which is quite funny. I've been to Galway quite a few times. Never seen anybody punching a donkey, but yeah, this is quite dark, very dark and disturbing, and challenging stuff from Scott Walker. I think that's everything. Yeah, that's everything. So probably throw this up the weekend. So I will try and get that krautrock video done. So until then, sorry, what am I doing? Just trying to shut this. So yeah. So until then. Yeah, so till then, thanks for watching.